in my career, I've seen a lot of sales presentations. I've seen a lot of people present, and I really liked Jess's. I liked the style. I liked her content, and I feel that she keeps it, makes it very simple and easy to understand, and therefore easy to retain and implement. So without further ado, I want Jess to kick this off, and I want her to introduce herself. Again, we really would love to make this interactive. We're hoping that a few more people are going to join us now. I see Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl. Cheryl's joined. And please feel free to ask questions. Oops, and feel free to ask questions. But again, I'm going to turn this over to Jess now. Or Olga, do you want to say a quick hello? Nope. All right, I'm going to move it right on to Jess then, okay?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Magooch, CEO of JPM Sales Partners. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to run through the science behind why people really buy. And then I'll share with you a way that you can engage with me if you need more help with your sales or building your sales team or building your sales playbooks and your strategies at the end. So guys are here to learn about the science behind why people really buy. So I'm gonna share my screen with you now. If you're having a problem seeing it, just let me know. You can either just jump in or let us know in the chat. That look good to you, Julia?
Yes, it does. Great.
Okay, excellent. So the science behind why people really buy is the best sales advice I ever received that helped us launch from 0 to over $100 million in sales in just 3 years. And if I had to narrow it down to the one concept that made all the difference for me, it was this. I could not have scaled that quickly without it. So just a little bit about me. I'm the founder of TechCelerator, which teaches techpreneurs how to sell and teach them how to solidify their sales process, launch their sales teams, and scale from 7 to 8 and 9 figures and beyond, even without getting outside funding. So my friend Alex says, sell or die. When you embrace this concept of customer revenue is everything, then your business will thrive with or without investors. In fact, you'll just become more attractive when you can, when you know how to bring in customer revenue. So it's hugely important. So I want you to know, I've failed at selling in the past. If you're concerned that you can't succeed without funding, put those fears to rest. They might want you to think out there that you can't survive without, big VC, giant, being VC backed, but it's not true. So the problem is they typically only fund 3%, 1 to 2% of the businesses that they review, and only 3% of that will go to female founded or minority owned companies. So, let's just put it this way, the odds aren't in your favor. So I teach people how to sell so you could scale to 7 figures and beyond without relying on outside investment. Traction is power, and sales begins with you. So this is the science behind why people really buy. It is the same training that I teach every semester at the Wharton School of Business. I'm one of their sales mentors for their startup accelerator programs out of the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, which is where I live outside of Philly in a suburb in Bucks County called Buckingham, Pennsylvania. So if you guys are ever by, come visit me and say hello. So did you know, Cheryl, Madeline, anyone else joining us, that the average close rates for SaaS demos, and this actually applies to most B2B sales, is only about 15% is the average closing rate. Yet some salespeople are reporting as high as 80% close rates. And that's a report that was done by Marketing Sherpa. They do great reports where they gather information from all different companies and different industries and about their sales and marketing metrics. And on the high end, the top 20% of salespeople were reporting close ratios between 40 and 80%. So the average is 15%. Most people would be satisfied with that, knowing their average. But when you can see the potential up to 80%, that's a big swing, and that's a lot of money left on the table. So I don't know about you, but I think it's time that you start claiming some of that money. What do you say? Yeah. So all you need to do is this one simple thing, which is increase your closing rate. So the closing rate is that last metric when you get someone into a sales presentation, the number of people that see your offer and then actually purchase, exchange money. So in my book, closing a sale is only counts when you've actually exchanged money. So if you invest in that one metric and moving the needle on that, it'll increase your gross revenue, decrease your cost of acquisition, and goes directly to the bottom line without spending any more money on marketing. So if you're in a position right now where you are getting good marketing flow and you're getting leads into the pipeline, whether it's through SEO or advertising or whichever way you're doing it, and you're not able to then convert them into paid customers, then learning how to increase your closing rate is the best investment you can make without having, most people would just keep throwing money into the marketing. So I just need more people instead of pushing that number of the close rate from 15% or 30% to 30, 50, 60, 70%. So it's the results I've had with people. I use this webinar in a lot of different places. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to start with a test called the F test, Julia. So it's going to tell you how good you already are at selling what people want to buy. And then we'll go into the science behind why people really buy. And then we'll do an exercise that will show you how to apply this to your business so that you can start seeing results instantly. And we'll uncover why your customer buys your product. So this isn't like a generic training. We're actually going to dig in at the end, and you're going to walk away with a pitch or refine your whatever your current pitch is, so that it really gets into the reason why your customers really, really buy. All right, you ready?
Jess, could I ask you, could Cheryl and Madeline maybe introduce themselves quickly and tell
Sure,
us
yeah, absolutely.
what they might want to get out of this webinar?
Mm-hmm. Please, yes, if you could take yourself off mute.
Hi there, I'm Cheryl Parks, and I appreciate the webinar. I am a sales coach and strategist. I just recently launched my business in November. Most of my background is B2B solution sales. I sold SaaS solutions for a good portion of my career. So in terms of what I'm looking to get out of the webinar is, as I mentioned, I'd sold for probably over 15 years. So I really am looking at what you're giving right now, which is updated stats and really understanding where the market is right now. And so far, I'm right with you. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. A fellow sales coach.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, anything I can garner in terms of my own business, of course, would be fantastic. But I have, my thoughts around how the market works. And like I said, it's just refreshing to understand, where you are just based on your experience and your credentials and that kind of thing. So
yeah,
yes.
you're gonna love this. You're gonna have fun.
I can tell.
Have a good time.
Thank you.
Hey,
Madeline, would you like to say hello?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Madeline. I'm a communication coach, and I help creative professionals communicate their ideas so they can be the expert and their teams and clients can understand. And I would love to increase my close rate for corporate workshops.
Excellent. So selling to a group or getting the actual workshop?
Selling workshops to organizations for their teams.
Okay, great. Excellent. Okay, so both B2B, we're both talking about B2B sales today, right?
Yes. I also do B2C, but that's what I'm most interested in right now.
Okay, great. Awesome, because that's my expertise. So let's start with the F test, okay? we'll start with a basis point, see how good we are at selling what people want to buy. So here are the rules. Well, first, before we start, some founders think that they're selling a product. Now, when I say founder or tech founder, I specialize in tech, but really this spreads across all B2B sales. The misconception is that you're selling a product and that the presentation is the main event. And they maybe have gotten a little bit of success, so they believe that this is true, right? Like maybe they're the 15% close rate, so they go, I'm on the right track, I'm average, yes, you know? So they've only just scratched the surface, okay? So here's the instructions for this lesson. On the next page or slide is a sentence. I want you to count the number of F's in the sentence. Then check your answer and write it down, and then don't change it. And this is not a trick question. Okay? All right.
Okay.
So the sentence is on the next slide. Okay? One more second. Everyone good?
Yes.
Okay. So I put a little graph in there of what I usually get as far as answers. But Julia, everyone let me know what you counted.
4.
4. Olga? Olga? Cheryl?
I think I have 6.
Teacher calling out on students. Cheryl, how many did you count?
I counted 6.
6.
Yes.
Madeline?
3.
Whoa, it always works. I love this stuff. You can have 4 people, 3 people, you get 3 different answers. Well, 4 different answers. One was a pass. Olga, are you passing? Olga's like, I'm not even trying. So.
No, I finally got myself off mute, so
I
I was looking for that button.
How many did you count?
I think it was 7.
Oh, excellent. Okay. So
Maybe
4 people, 4 different answers. I love it. So I've done this test with groups, 100 people. I've done it with 5, 10, 20 people, 100 people. No matter how many people, we're always going to get a variance of answers. And typically it looks something like this, where, you know, you get a variance of like 3s and 4s, and there's like a dip in 5 for some reason, and then there's 6, and then there's people 7, and then you'll get random ones like a 10 or 100 or a 0. And then there's people who refuse to believe that it wasn't a trick, and they're trying to find what's the trick here. So how many of you think that you're right now that you know people have different answers? Who still thinks they're right?
I think I'm right.
I don't know. Quickly, I'll tell you.
What?
You know, the slide kind of, I'm just saying,
Oh, now it was too quick. Okay.
I didn't say it was too quick.
No. What you have to say that I'm right because I'm selling. So you have to be convincingly right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Even if you are wrong.
I will add that I don't even know what the sentence said. Like, I really don't.
Just counted the F's. That's fine.
Yes.
Yeah. But are you sure of your answer?
Yes.
Everyone thinks they're right, right? Good. You still think you're right? And who's willing to bet on it? Who really thinks they're right? Like who? You have 4 people, 4 different answers. Someone's right. I'll share that. Who is it? Who's willing? So, why do people get different answers? That's what we've got to uncover. You've all saw the same sentence, right? Yet you all had different answers. Now, how many of you think that perhaps your customer might have counted a different answer than you? Is it possible?
Yes.
It's very possible.
Definitely.
Every single time.
Every single time. You're like, why don't you understand me? So who's right then? Who is it? The answer is you're all right. You don't want to hear that answer. But you're all right because your perception is your reality. Whatever people see is true for them, whether it's with your eyes or based on your experience or your background. However you experience your world is true for you. And that's why people have different opinions, different ways of looking at things, okay? So whatever it is, it's true. It's right for you. You cannot tell the customer that they're wrong. However they see it, it's right for them, okay? There's no one reality. There's no one what we call truth. You know, bonus fact, I was a philosophy minor, so I spent 4 years studying what we think we know, which is nothing. That's the answer. I'll give you a quick degree. It's nothing. What we think we know nothing. But we all see things differently. So you have to sell what your customer wants to buy, not what you want to sell. Does that make sense? If I reverse engineered it, you would have agreed with me, but now we really see how critical it is and how true it is that people see different things. So now you're probably going to ask me, but you may have also noticed this in your own life, that whatever you believe is true for you as the entrepreneur, as the salesperson. So whether you think you can or can't, you are right. So I know some of you might be wondering what the sentence was, so I will go back to it. But the truth is you are actually in control of your beliefs and your perceptions if you want to change them, because your perception is your reality. So what I'm going to work on today is helping you look at things differently, look at the sales process differently, because nothing will change unless you change your mind. Okay? So do you guys want to see the sentence again?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go back. Okay. So read the sentence again and tell me if you have the same answer. Have you seen anything different? I'll point them out for you. Ready? 1, you guys see my cursor, right? 2,
yes.
3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the question is, why didn't you see the F's the first time? When you counted it twice and you wrote down, right? So the F's that most people miss are the F's in the of.
Exactly.
Because when you say the word of, it sounds like a V in your brain, and your mind literally erases it. It's not there. So you hear it, and then your vision actually just erases it. So if you missed an F, it was probably from one of those ofs. And that's not part of the lesson in sales today, but it's just an explanation to see how to understand why we might see things differently. And in order for you to help your customer see something different, you have to be able to see it from their perspective as well as yours. So in order for me to have shown you that I think there are 6 F's, again, I think that's my reality. In order for me to point that out to you, I also had to know why you skipped them, okay? So it all goes back to knowing your customer. So let's get back to knowing our customer, and we'll go into step 2, which is, or lesson 2, the science behind why people really buy, okay? So some founders also think if my product's good enough, it's just going to sell itself, right? Like anyone ever feel that way? Like if I have a great service, a great package, a great offer, great product, like it should just sell itself. All people just have to see it and they'll buy. And if that was true, we wouldn't ever need salespeople, of course. But even the perfect product at the perfect price at the perfect time, even if it fits those criteria, people still won't buy. And I'll tell you why. So I'll share a story with you about my worst week ever, also known as I suck at selling. I used to suck at selling. So this is me when I first started selling. It's like little pigtails. That was me, just a little 24-year-old there out in New York City. And I had my best week booked ever. I had like 12 appointments to go out and meet with clients. I had been doing really well so far, so I was sure I was going to make a ton of money. And I went out and I trekked the streets of New York, and I was counting my money as I was climbing up those 5-6 story, walk-ups. And one after another, for whatever reason, I kept getting no's. And I'm thinking, what is going on? I mean, I had some cancels and reschedules, but 12 appointments and every single person said no. So I went in to the office on the Monday meeting, and we had to write our numbers on the board, and I'm writing in that big, green dry erase marker, my big fat 0, 12 appointments, 0 sales. How embarrassing. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't that concerned about money because I just was 24. I didn't have that many bills to pay, but I was embarrassed about having to report my numbers at the sales meeting. So my boss looked at me and he goes, what happened? And I said, I don't know. And he said, well, you better figure it out. So this is what he taught me and what I'm going to teach you. So some people think, don't people just buy the product that solves their problem and has the most value? Let's uncover this. So anybody know who this guy is? Huh?
I don't.
Huh? That is Sir Isaac Newton. I know, he's delicious. Don't be distracted by his looks. So he taught us that an object at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. You remember that from high school physics?
Yes.
So the same is true for people. People will stay at rest or do nothing unless something pushes them or influences them to change. The opposite is true. Something in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. That's why once you're in the groove and you're in the flow, it's easier to stay in the flow, like when you're trying to get stuff done during the day. And the longer you stop or the longer you procrastinate, the harder it is to get yourself going again, right? Go to the gym, you're going every day, everything's going great. You stop for 2 weeks. How hard is it to get back there the first day? So this is what we're talking about. People naturally do not want to change. And the question is, what is that outside force? Now, just to dig a little bit deeper into why they don't want to change, it's easy to see how hard just tell yourself to go on a diet and don't eat carbs tomorrow and see how hard it is to change something, right? And yet here we are as salespeople trying to get our customers to change. And it really is a self-preservation instinct. Like, it's ingrained in us not to change because change is scary, right? We don't know what's on the other side. So better to live with the pain that we have than go trek into the unknown forest and perhaps, come up against the Loch Ness monster. Like, we'll just stay put here. So it's very difficult to get people to change. They naturally don't want to. So the question is, what is that thing that gets them to change? What is that outside force? Anybody have a guess? Besides amazing salespeople?
Oh, is it pain? Isn't it like, I want to say pain, fear, desire. I think there are 4 pillars of why people change, and I could be wrong. but I know pain. I'm guessing pain is one of them.
Pain is you're getting close. So let's uncover that. So why? Let's start with, let's ask why do people buy, right? So it goes back to the study of emotional intelligence. And the study of emotional intelligence is being able to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, and to recognize, understand, and influence the emotion of others. Now, I can't think of a better definition of selling, right? It is knowing yourself, right? Having like a deep personal understanding of yourself and what you as a person could bring into the conversation, what limiting beliefs and opinions you bring into the sales conversation, and then understanding what the other person is bringing, what emotions they're bringing to the table. And then the next step is how to then influence those emotions. So that's the study of emotional intelligence. And what the study had taught us, which is what my sales trainer taught me years ago on that week that I had my worst week ever, was that information, this is the human brain. I don't want to reveal that yet. So information travels through the limbic center of the brain first, which is in the middle, before it travels to the frontal lobe, which is in the front. Now, the limbic center is what manages emotions, passion, anger, joy, all of that is the limbic center. And then the frontal lobe is logic and reasoning. So that's where, and you may have heard before, that people make decisions first emotionally and back them up with logic. Has anyone ever heard that before?
Yes.
So this is what I live by. And all my sales training revolves around really digging into this concept over manipulative techniques or like hypnosis or anything like that. So no matter who you are, no matter how analytical a person you are, no matter how smart you are, you're always going to have, your brain is going to operate this way. Now, most people do not know how their brain works. So they will insist that they make decisions very logically. I put a spreadsheet together, I have pros and I have cons. Have you ever made a pros and cons list and like the cons were much longer than the pros, but you were like, but this pro right there is waiting, right? So what's behind that is like, that pro makes me feel something that all these cons can't compete with. So everyone operates this way. We make decisions both emotionally and with logic, but the average person will assume that they're only aware of the logical way that they make decisions. But we're professionals, salespeople. Our job is to understand our clients and how their brains work so we can help them change when it's going to be in their benefit. I'm assuming that you're all selling products and services that do good for people and aren't just there to, drain money out of their pockets, right? For no benefit. So then the question is, which emotions, if it's emotions that get people to change or take action, to go back to Newton, right? Object of rest stays at rest unless acted upon by outside force. The outside force we've shown is emotion. From which emotion? Cheryl said pain, right? Let's dig into it. So there's a journey that a customer needs to go on. The first emotion is how you make them feel, right? So they first need to have a good feeling about you. I'll say just good feeling, but they need to know you, like you, and trust you. I know you've heard that before, but that goes back to an emotional response that they have to you, whoever's presenting to them. Because if they don't have a good feeling about you, then there's no reason to trust anything else you're going to tell them later on. And they'll have to fact check you, and they'll have to ask for, let me see your license or your business and licenses or what have you, because they have a bad feeling, and they're like, we got to dig in deeper to this person. So the first thing is they've got to, it's how you make them feel is important. And then the second emotion is more aligned with the product or service that you offer, which is the emotion, and this is critical, the emotion they'll feel when their problem is solved. So, and I'll break that down a little bit more for you. So, to your point, Cheryl, about the pain. So the pain is the thing that gets them to wake up and go, I got to find a solution, right? The pain is the thing that gets them to start doing a Google search or click on a Facebook ad. I never click on ads, but the pain's bad enough, so I'm clicking, right?
Right.
Right? When the pain is bad enough, you click. So that's the thing that gets them to start looking for a solution, to tell their assistant to start looking for a solution. The thing that gets them to buy is the opposite of that. So if you don't show them during your sales presentation or webinar or however you're presenting your solution, sales meeting, if you don't show them or if they don't feel the result of what it's going to be like when their problem's solved, then you don't make the sale. That's when you lose the sale. When they're not able to feel what it's going to feel like when they solve their problem. So some ways that people do that are through storytelling is a great way to help people experience an emotion. They haven't actually solved their problem, but when they when they see your presentation and you tell them stories, they're actually feeling that feeling associated with solving their problem. And we're going to uncover what that is, because that's different for every product and service. It's not, I can't just say they feel pleasure. Not everybody's selling pleasure, right? That makes sense, right? I have worked with a bunch of sex adult toy companies in my interwoven life of working with accelerators. So in that case, yeah, she was. But they need to feel the emotion that they'll feel when their problem is solved. And that emotion is primarily transferred through you. And that's why sales has also been described as the transference of emotion from one person to another. So when you think about who you are, as I'm going to keep it like corporate B2B, who you are when you enter the sales meeting has to reflect the emotion that you want them to feel as if they solve their problem. And I'll give you some examples to help you with that. But just to review, people inherently don't want to change. They won't change unless acted upon by an outside force. And that outside force is?
Pain.
Emotion.
It's not always pain.
I read really well.
Pain, but it's some kind of negative emotion. It's not necessarily it's a pain, or maybe more specific than a pain. And what they need to feel in order to buy is the emotion related to the solution. They won't hand over money unless they're convinced that they're going to get that solution. And that emotion is primarily transferred to you. So ultimately, people buy you and how you make them feel. Now, we're going to apply this to your business because now it's just high and lofty ideas, right? But now we're going to really bring it down to how to make this work for you. And we're going to script out some stuff and even get feedback from each other. Sound good?
Yes.
So in case, you might be saying like, but I'm selling software to corporations. Like they don't have feelings. What are you talking about, Jessica? This doesn't apply to me, right? Does anybody feel that way? I've certainly worked with a lot of software companies where they're like, no, they're just, I sell software to IT departments and accounting departments, and it's all numbers and metrics. And I'm like, just wait. So no matter what size company you're selling to, you're always selling people to people, human to human, whether, you know, it's 1,000 person company or a solo shop, and people are emotional beings. Okay. So like I said, it's not just the emotion, but the emotion is often the thing that is overlooked as part of the sales process and how we transfer that emotion from one person to another. So let's do an exercise to uncover what your customer is really buying. Okay. And I can give you another example. Cars. Anyone purchase a car ever? Or not purchase a car? Like not purchasing a car is a decision as well.
Mm-hmm.
So different cars, and this is what great commercial writers are good at, is provoking that emotion related to that product you're buying. So if you're watching a commercial for a fancy sports car, think about what they usually look like. Explain it to me.
Fast.
Clean.
Yep. Sleek. Sexy.
Keep going. More. Describe the characters.
Winner.
Triumphant. Okay.
Successful, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Perception.
Absolutely. So, and it's not ever a blanket rule, but people who sell, you know, Lamborghini, I don't even think I've seen a Lamborghini commercial, but people who sell high-end sports cars, you look at their brochures, 99% of their people are buying the same emotion, right? It could be different. You could have people out there buying for different reasons, but they know most of their people are buying because they want to feel sexy. They want to feel important. They want to feel triumphant, right? So that's what they're going to show in their advertising. And when you walk into their showroom, that better be the way they make you feel when the salesperson comes up to you. Otherwise, no sale. But the same is true for a fuel-efficient Prius, right? What are some of the emotions someone might buy, like an economically, you know, fuel-efficient, environmentally friendly car? Throw out some reasons. Think about emotions.
Conscious.
So like, I'll dig into that a little more, because conscious isn't an emotion, but when someone is saying, I'm environmentally conscious, what do they feel about that?
They care strongly about the environment. So.
Yeah. So, but what's the feeling behind buying a car that reflects that?
I don't know what the emotion is. That's such a good question.
Yeah.
It's fun to dig into, right?
Mm-hmm.
So could it be
like validation?
It could be like proud. Could you be proud to be like, look, I'm driving this kind of car, and you're driving a car that's like eating up the air of your, you know, your children from years to come.
The customer is buying the belief that we're doing something right.
So what's the emotion behind that? I like that.
Righteousness.
Righteousness. Okay. It could be righteousness or proud or just responsible, right? Like if you buy a Toyota Camry, let's say, that's not necessarily, you know, the most, environmentally friendly, but it's like the #1 rated car in Consumer Reports year after year, right? It's like, why make any other car if that's the one that keeps winning?
Mhm.
Because people buy cars for different reasons. They even buy different color cars for different reasons. Okay. So that just goes to show how much emotion actually plays a role in the things that we buy every day. So the question is, what do your customers buy? Because you can see how different it would be to sell something feeling sexy and important versus responsible and proud, right? You can see how those would be totally different marketing and branding and sales communication. Even what I'm going to wear when I walk into that sales meeting is going to be different. It's going to be different. Like if I'm selling a fun hip sports car, a fun hip like Volkswagen or something versus a Lamborghini. I'm going to have to dress the way that I want the customer to feel. I want to communicate something. Okay. So it matters. Everything matters. And you're communicating that with everything that you do and say and the stories that you tell. So what's your customer buying? Let's get our pens and papers and all that, because it is different. So what I want you to do is think about your ideal customer. Have you guys done any like ideal customer exercises? Not, you should definitely do an in-depth one. You'll need like 2 hours to do one, but you can Google like ideal customer avatar. An ideal customer goes deeper than just a target market. A target market would define like demographics, but an ideal customer is an actual person who's like your best ideal client. Like, so you could, the best ones are people that you've actually worked with. Like, this is a client of mine that was, I would work with 100 of them and never feel drained, you know, that kind of thing. So think about who that person is, and then think about how they feel the moment that they're experiencing the problem you solve, and write down that emotion. So Olga, you know, someone who's feeling like I'm already like going to put answers in your mouth, but like Olga runs a co-working space for entrepreneurs. And I think for me, if like someone's joining a co-working space, I'm thinking of words like lonely or lost, right? Because they're working by themselves, and a co-working space, even by name, is, company. You have company. So that's like one of the emotions I would use if in your marketing, and even when you're having conversations. Like, it can be really lonely being an entrepreneur. And so that could be something fun to play with, unless you find that it's a different emotion. I'm just throwing things out. Cheryl and Madeline, you want to throw out the emotions that you've identified?
Sure. This is Cheryl. I'll go first. So I put sad, confused, lacking direction. And I don't know if those are true emotions. I need to sit what you said, because you've just taught me something about the actual emotion and not the category. So,
Right. So without direction would be lost.
Lost. That's good.
You can feel lost, and you can feel sad, and that's how you just fill in the sentence. If you can fill that sentence as like, I feel blank.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to say, I feel like blank, then that's not the emotion. You're describing the emotion. So then just dig deeper and say, like, I feel lost. So I feel sad. I feel, what was the other one you said? Confused.
Sad, confused, and lost. So now I get it, because you can't say I feel lack direction.
I feel lack of direction. Right. I feel like I don't have direction. I feel lost. And you really also, it's helpful to choose the word instead of negating the opposite, to actually choose the word. So instead of saying unhappy, sad, like you said, sad. So so that's helpful too, because it's more difficult to express a not emotion. Okay. Does that make sense? Because I have a theater degree, so emotions are like, so it's really, if I'm on stage and someone tells me to act not happy, I'd like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm not happy, but what am I? You know?
Right.
So
Okay.
fill it in with what you actually are. How about
Okay.
Madeline?
So the people who are experiencing the problem buying workshops for their team would be frustrated, drained, and burdened by the people on their team who are not effective at presenting their work.
Excellent. So what kind of workshops do you deliver?
I deliver a lot of workshops on public speaking and interpersonal and team communication.
Okay. Okay. So the people that are hiring, the people that have the problem are they the people that are hiring you, or have they been appointed to hire you?
So, and it's I was thinking about it. It's very different. The people who I'm working with B2B and B2C. So for B2B, they are often, VPs or directors of a team. So they don't necessarily have the problem themselves, but they have people on their team who have this problem.
Right. Well, okay. When you say that the problem's public speaking?
Yeah, being ineffective at articulating their ideas.
Okay. So one thing you'll want to do is, if the VP is the one that's reaching out to you, they're reaching out to you to solve their problem.
Right.
Think of it as what is their problem? What's the effect on them that their team can't communicate? And that's the pain that's going to get them to hire you. Because ultimately it's not the person that needs the help.
Yeah.
You, right?
Well, I think they are drained and burdened because they're wasting a lot of their time because their team isn't able to perform the way that they need them to.
Excellent. Okay, great. So that's the direct effect on them not having a team that can communicate properly, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I want you to take those emotions that you guys have identified. Julia, you want to play?
Yeah.
What are yours?
So mine's interesting because I just did a new website and it says, coming to New York, starting a company in New York can be very intimidating.
Intimidated.
Yes. So
yeah, sure.
Executive brings companies from other countries to New York. And it's interesting though, some people didn't like that. They found that word was too strong. And they said something like, I'm not intimidated. I'm just, I want a little, I don't know, hand holding. Okay, well, so I have to maybe soften it. But I think
maybe they didn't like that you outed them.
Right. I'm not intimidated. I'm just intimidated.
Right. You're intimidating me by telling me that I'm intimidated.
Exactly.
No, I'm intimidated.
But not everybody. But I must say, most people actually it resonated with them. And there's in the back, there's an image of really tall buildings kind of going up. So you feel very small.
So you're seeing how it's working. You're reverse engineering like why it's working, the thing that you're putting out there.
Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, I mean, customer feedback's great, but ultimately it's what's working, right? Like I might not verbally tell someone how I feel about, how much pain I'm in about like my relationship or something. But I might click on an ad that says like have better sex or something like that, right? But I'm not going to tell you, I might not be able to express that to you, but if it's working on your site, that's how you know that it's getting to the core of what they actually feel, so that it's working. So that's an important takeaway actually, because often your clients cannot tell you what that emotion is. It's not something you can necessarily ask them because they don't have that awareness, that emotional awareness. So the next thing I want you to do is take that emotion and exaggerate it, because people don't take action because they feel sad, right? They take action because they feel like, what's the extreme of sad? Trying to think of
broken.
Broken.
Despondent.
Despair. Yeah, despair. That's right.
I love that. Broken. Oh, I want to fix it. Yes. Okay. So the reason why we exaggerate it is because the ego part of ourselves sees things in terms of life and death only. So this is the reason why people you'll overreact to things. Like, why are you overreacting? Like, they laid off half the company, but they didn't lay off you, So because what people do is they go to the extreme and they go literally, it's either life or death. It's either like good or bad. And that's like the ego part of ourselves. And so when they feel an emotion, even attached to a corporate problem, they're taking it to the extreme. So their mind quickly takes a journey down to the worst case scenario. And before you know it, they've lost their job and they're on the unemployment line and their family's in a shelter and they lost their house and they're on the street because no one else will ever hire them, right? Like, these are the extremes that they feel immediately. And that's why people get so agitated. But that's also the thing that goes, God, I better find a solution for this. And that's when they start seeking you out. So exaggerate that, make it dramatic, and then write down the opposite emotion. So we'll say, what's the opposite of intimidated?
Calm, cool, and collected.
Calm.
Powerful.
Yeah.
I was going to say, take that and stretch it. Calm, cool, and collected. Stretch it. And exaggerate that. So who said powerful?
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah, the opposite
Sure.
of powerful or empowered, or I thought immediately confident.
Yeah, confident. That's
Yeah, like take a step into the big apple with confidence or something. Like take a bite, take your bite confidently or something like that. Off the top of my head, I'm not like the best wordsmith, but you could see how you maybe if they're depending on where they are in their journey, they're not wanting to hear the pain. They're wanting to hear the solution. So it also depends where on your site you're putting it. Like it's the emotions that have to do with the problem are going to draw people in because they're going to say, oh, she gets me. How did she know I was intimidated by the city? But the thing that's going to get them to like fill out a form or book a call is going to be that they somehow feel like you're going to make them feel confident or calm, cool, and collected or empowered or powerful. Do you see how that works?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So let's take sad, confused, and lost. The opposite would be, well, sadly exaggerated to despair, right? So desperate, confused, and what's lost?
Broken.
Oh, broken. Oh God, I love that word. Oh my gosh. Do you see my reaction to it? I like that word. Yeah. Okay. So the opposite would be?
I like the word you just used. You said, confident, empowered, powerful, polished, prepared. I had a client that went through this whole process, so it's a little easier for me to see it.
Great.
But
yeah. No, that's wonderful because your ideal client, you don't have to guess about it. It's somebody that you know and you've seen them go through that journey. So she came out feeling confident, empowered, polished. I would say leadership level. She felt like she had a seat at the table. What's a word for that? Seat at the table. Validated.
Validated. Validated.
Validated. Cool. Like it. I like it. Okay, great. Madeline, Olga, you want to jump in?
I'm having trouble coming up with the opposite for the potential managers who would be buying.
Good.
So the emotions that I had come up with were frustrated, drained, and burdened.
Yeah.
And the one that I thought of was liberated, but I still feel like the B2C customers identify with that more than the B2B.
Okay. Yeah, you might have two different ideal customers, avatars, right? So one for your B2C and one for your B2B, but then they'll still have emotions. They might be slightly different emotions. So if you want to focus on the B2B, if that's where you're having the challenge,
yes, please.
let's all help her, okay? So they're coming to you feeling frustrated. Repeat those back to me. Overwhelmed?
I didn't write overwhelmed, but possibly drained and burdened.
Drained, burdened. So the opposite of drained. Let's start there.
Refreshed.
Refreshed. Energized.
Yeah, I like energized better.
Yeah.
Energized. And it doesn't have to be one, but sometimes it's the mix of two or three. Like there's no word exists for this combination of emotions, but energized, refreshed. What's the opposite of frustrated?
Clear.
What?
I was thinking like clear or focused, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think in her scenario too. What do you think, Madeline?
Well, the word that came to mind was fulfilled, but that is not the word that my customers are using in that scenario.
Right. Fulfilled is like such a difficult word to use too, because it's like so variant from person to person. How about, do they feel like, I'm also hearing maybe not empowered, but in control?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm thinking, their team now actually get things done when they couldn't get them done before, and they feel like I'm actually able to steer this ship.
Yeah. And the idea is that it would free up their time too when their team is more effective and when they don't have to spend so much of their time training people on soft skills.
Right. More productive.
So
I was
thinking
productive and efficient. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So
I just meant from like the time saving perspective, because I think that's the frustrating part, and like reiterating and re-explaining things over and over is probably so frustrating for those managers.
Well, let's dig in even deeper then, because often when there's a challenge uncovering a strong emotion to buy, it's because the pain maybe is deeper than we think.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get a little personal. Can you give this person a name?
Sure. Jonah.
Okay. So let's imagine let's get a little personal with Jonah. What are the possible personal side effects of Jonah's team not operating well, or him having to explain soft skills? How does it affect him when he goes home from work?
He's stressed and worried if they're not hitting their targets.
And their target, is this a sales manager? Or development? Okay. And they need to learn these soft skills. So like I would dig into how like one company I helped with their financial, so she creates financial software that helps companies do their reconciliations, which are often done manually. And typically in companies, and I even see this with my friends, like once a quarter, they have to stay all weekend to get the reconciliations done. And that clearly is pain on their schedule. Like they're missing their kids' baseball games, they don't want to stay. Nobody wants to stay late. It's understood that everyone has to do it, but nobody wants to do it. So what if you had a solution that you didn't have to stay over the weekend and you got better results and didn't have to give up your family time, that kind of thing. So I'm wondering, like, what is the real pain for, because certainly without that piece, selling will be a challenge, like until we uncover what that really is, like what's really driving them. Is it, is it the accolades? Is it the money that comes from it? Is it, promotion? What's in it for him? And just keep taking the steps down the line of that thing that's really, really motivating him that he's not going to even tell you about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So think about some of them. You don't have to figure it out right now, right? It takes work. It's work well worth it, but digging into, what's the worst case scenario for him if he doesn't solve this problem? What really sucks about having this problem? Like if this didn't exist, how much, would his life be perfect, kind of thing? Like, I love everything about my job except this part, that's a huge.
Can I try something really quick? I just want to get your opinion about it. So like, if you go with like Jonah, like the specific, and I'm thinking, I don't know why, but I keep going back to broken. I was thinking like, gosh, I feel like a broken record. I am so withdrawn by the time I get home because I'm so tired of repeating the same thing. And so then the opposite of it would be, I feel energized because I'm not overwhelmed, with repeating myself over and over. Is that kind of in the line, or?
Well, Madeline knows her customer best, but I think you're on the right track. And another thing you can use to help you, I'm a very visual person. So I would immediately say, if I had to create a commercial about this person and I had to show what it looked like when they came home from work, for instance, like I had to follow them throughout their day, right? There's some immediate questions I need to answer just to even put that person in a room, right? Like I have to know what kind of company is it? Where is it in the city? Is it in the country? Is he by himself? Is he up? How many people is he with? Is it a man or a woman? How old is he? What ethnicity is he, right? What is he wearing? Are his clothes uncomfortable or are they comfortable? And then if he's coming home, then I have to know, like, does he have a family? Does he live by himself? Maybe he doesn't have time to even date because he's so freaking drained by work. He can't even go to happy hours. He doesn't even feel like, right? Like,
right.
Like, what's the effect of being drained at work? And whether you out them on it or not, that's the thing that's the reason why they're seeking a solution.
Okay.
So if it's like, I feel like a freaking broken record, I am so exhausted when I go home. I always say I'm going to go to the gym and I never go because my team drains the heck out of me. If I could just remove that one problem, I like what I do. I like software development. I like training people, blah, blah, blah. I hate this part. If I could remove that one part, I would actually have joy back in my life. I'd have an energy to go out after work, maybe find a date. I'm assuming a lot of things, but if it's a family, I would have time. I'd have the energy to play with my kids or, that kind of thing. So, yeah, being drained in energy, like what does that actually look like as a pain in their life? And so then what you're selling then, Madeline, would be the opposite of that, like energized, empowered. I think energized is probably a great word for you, but we could play with it. We're not committing to anything right now, but you understand the path that you're going on.
Yes.
So the second one's the one you're selling. So next time you're in a sales conversation, think like, what am I really selling? And then experiment different ways to explain that by injecting emotion into your copy. And make sure your brand reflects the emotion you want to transfer. So different brands have different companies, like an insurance company, there's a reason why most insurance companies use the color blue. Because blue is supposed to, you know, have that feeling of security and safety and strength, you know? Or black. There's a reason why I use black and gold. Because there's a certain emotion that I want to transfer to people, and I will use everything in my bucket to do that. So you don't want anything working against you when it comes to, you know, branding and marketing, but especially when you're walking into a room and the energy that you want to transfer. So if you're selling energized and you come in drained, right? You can see how that's going to hurt you. So like, you're definitely going to want to do some jumping jacks before you walk into those sales meetings. I've definitely done that. So before you say like, what? I've gone to the bathroom and done jumping jacks before I walked into sales meetings, because I know that however I feel is how they're going to feel. And I need to make that be, you know, the emotion that I want. If I come in tired and drained, that's what they're going to feel. And they're like, I don't want to buy that. I want to buy the opposite of that. But if you're selling safety and security and calm, you could see how maybe I would change the tone of my voice to reflect those emotions. Because maybe that's what you're selling, Madeline. Maybe you're selling, you know, the peace that comes with having a team that runs like a machine. So you can experiment with different ways to express that and to incorporate it into your brand. So here's a statement. I don't know if we have time to play with it because we're about 15 minutes over, but you can write this down and fill in the blank, and then I would be happy to review them if you wanted to email them to me, or if we have if you guys want to stay on and work through it, we can. So one example you can use just as a pitch to say, this is what I do, that incorporates all the work we've done so far, is this sentence down here. I help the emotional adjective related to the problem you solve. I'll give you examples because this doesn't make much sense without it. In this target market, solve this problem so that they can have this feeling around the solution without, and then you call out their major objection. So I just worked with a company that does foreign currency exchange. I get to learn about all different companies. It's so much fun. But I help overwhelmed. So that's the adjective that they felt they found was for their customer. Overwhelmed mid-size consumer goods companies, or mid-size consumer goods finance directors specifically, find the best, you know, CFX rates so they can protect their profit margins and have predictable profit. So protect and predictable are emotional words, without relying on FX brokers. So we found that was the major objection. People would say like, yeah, you can give me that, but I would have to do this, you know? So your major objection might be around time, or it might be around money, or it might be around, you know, having like this, they don't want to deal with brokers. So I help this kind of person solve this problem so they can have this solution without insert the major objection. And when you can call out all of those things in a way that your customer identifies with, they go, oh my gosh, I need to talk to this lady. I help broken salespeople. Cheryl, is that who you work with?
Leaders, teams, startup founders.
Okay. So Brokens might not be a word you use like front facing, right? Because they might feel that, but they might not want to identify with that. So you might use like the frustrated was one of yours, right? No.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
I was sad, confused, and lost, which I think all fall under broken. Like they may not want to identify with any of those.
Something that's fun in your copy too is to experiment with, now that you've identified the emotion, then start using analogies.
Okay.
Right? Like taking a bite out of the Big Apple, obviously overused, but it also expresses that emotion of, I'm taking my piece. I'm owning this city, you know? You're stepping into the limelight, or thinking of, even if you have like a theme that your brand revolves around, like using that theme to express and show the emotion behind what you do. Like a recruiting company it's like rock star recruiting or something. And their whole idea is like hire a rock star. So all of their analogies are around music.
Perfect.
So you can play with these. It's kind of like an ad libs. You can play with these and like you play with the different emotional words, pull out the thesaurus, because it's like going back to high school writing. You can get really creative and fun when you start using words that aren't so trite and just overused so that people ignore them, but start pulling out some words that people like, oh, I haven't heard that word in a while. Of course, they have to know what it means, but it's fun to start using even words that are typically associated with other things, like descriptive words that typically wouldn't describe the thing you're describing, but you're pulling it from one genre into another, and now it becomes interesting. So juicy, like juicy, when you say juicy, you know, it's supposed to refer to like food, but when you say juicy in another context, or now all of a sudden it's more interesting, right? So things like that. So what I wanted to leave you guys with, so now we've gone through the science behind why people buy. We found out why your perception is your reality and your customer might have a different reality. That's why selling is so darn hard. Communication, Madeline, right, is so darn hard because people see things differently. And we discovered that people buy emotionally first and back it up with logical reasons. And in order to influence people to take action, you have to know what that emotion is they're really buying. So we uncovered what the emotion is that gets them to look for a solution, what the pain is specifically, and then how they need to feel in order to take action. So I wanted to offer you guys, if anybody listening now or in the future when you hear this, I do something called a closing blueprint reveal session where, and I'll share it with you here. And it is where we get on a Zoom call and I dig into your business and I outline for you a step-by-step closing strategy. So from once you get a lead to turning it into a converted customer, we'll walk you through step-by-step how to close a deal in your business. So we draw out your very own custom closing blueprint, and you'll get the blueprint at the end and you'll get a recording of the meeting. It's $1 to reserve your spot and $97 due after. So you'll have 3 choices. You can either, if it's a waste of your time, then you don't owe me anything more. If you felt like you received value, it'll be $97 for the session. And then if you feel like you want to work with me further in other ways, whether it's coaching or building strategies or working with your teams, we can talk about on a separate call different ways that we can help you further. And of course, that would be applied then to any other programs that we do to work together. So the URL for that, if you want to check out all the details, is closingblueprint.jpmpartners.com. So I'll put it in the chat here. And once you get to that page, you can just fill out the form for the $1 and then and then you'll be invited to book a call on my calendar. And that offer expires in 3 days or 72 hours. And then it goes up to the regular price of $197. So I still offer them, but I'll do them for $1.97. After that, it's just $197 paid ahead of time. Still the same great value in case you miss out on that. So can I put that in the chat? Or we'll probably email them out too, right?
Yeah.
You guys have any questions about your emotions, or you want to talk more about those? You have more clarity? How do you feel now about what you've learned today? What are your biggest takeaways?
This is Cheryl. I'll go first. So I think for me, I'm realizing that I am selling much too, I won't say hard, but I'm using too much logic, way too much logic.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to really focus on, like you said, the ideal audience avatar and understand the pain. So I understand the selling process, but now that I'm using it for my own business and not for another company, it's, you know, you have to take it and work it the other way. So thank you.
Yeah. And you are really selling yourself then. You're not like salesperson is selling themselves and the company. And now you're really just, it's all you.
Right.
You're really selling.
Exactly.
Girl.
With no predecessor to say, I work for this company and they're known all over the world, you know, all of those things that go with that. So perfect.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome. Great. I'm glad that you'll bring that into your meetings tomorrow. And let us know how you feel about that and how you feel after the meetings and
absolutely
and what kind of results that it gives you. All right, Madeline, have I confused you more than given answers?
No, this reiterates some other things that I have learned, and it was a great reminder about selling the vision of the future as opposed to the pain.
Excellent.
It brought to mind a very specific consult that didn't convert, and I was like, oh, that's why I didn't sell the vision.
Yes. So when people say, you know, sell the vision, create the story, draw the rainbow, have you heard of that analogy? Like take them from where they are to where they want to be. Ultimately, those are all different ways of getting them to feel something. At the core of it, it's just feeling something, whether you're doing that through a presentation, telling a story, or even having them experience your product, like a free trial, or if it's a tangible thing, having them touch it, having them take a test drive. Those are all ways that you can help people feel what it would be like to have the solution that you offer. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited to see your sales soar.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jess.
You're welcome.
Jess, thank you very, very much. It was truly amazing.
Oh, excellent. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Olga.
I loved it. I learned so much.
Great.
No, really fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you for doing it so late.